Well, this will be the last video of this playlist for the moment. In truth, it's a video in which I had planned to give you some kind of notes or the answer to frequently asked questions that people have asked me, that they have asked in my Discord. It's something I wanted to do in this video, but I believe that with what I'm going to mention, many of those things will be resolved, and instead, I propose that in the comments of the videos, especially of this last one, after having watched the playlist, make sure to watch the playlist first. Start leaving your questions, any questions that remain. Make sure to watch the playlist first to avoid spam of questions that are answered in the same playlist. So I'm gonna wait until you do that first. That a lot of people, and there I think I had another video answering those things, but they are little details that are happening with the price. So I'll mention a couple of things as extras. Alright then. What is the purpose of this video? First, to thank you for making it this far, which shows me that you're interested in learning, in studying, who value the content I have made, and all the effort it took me to put into videos of not much duration, because really, videos of less than an hour is not much time to express months and years of market experience and to make it understandable. Therefore, it took time, just like working with individuals one-on-one. Knowing how to filter such information. So thank you for getting this far and for valuing content that, despite being free, I have an enormous amount of testimonials that indicate that they have learned much more with this than by paying for courses or paying other people who don't actually know how to explain well. They have no idea what they are doing, or they don't practice what they preach among all these things. So if you have a person who is about to spend $500 on a course or boot camp where they are going to mix them with 300 other people and they won't get individual attention, share this playlist. If you have already had the chance to watch it and learned from it, share it with people you know, so we can help avoid people falling for poor quality information. And likewise, here comes the good part. If you thought you learned from this playlist, if you feel you learned something from this playlist, then here's another playlist that will really teach you good things about the market. So, now that you've watched this, internalize it well. Internalize it well. Here in these first two videos, I give an explanation of what the system is, so that those who didn't know of TFX can get an idea. And although I explain it in my own way, with my own empiricism and my own way of having compiled, the foundation remains TFX, and credit goes to Dave for his role in everything. Well, it was essential that I got into this of seeing the graph in 5 seconds. So in these videos, I explain this from the structure to the narrative that I do. I give you some kind of rules and methods to identify the zones we need to validate the structures. Everything step by step. See how everything comes together at the end, using everything I explain here. So do not underestimate each video or the information in each of them, and skip directly to where the executions are. Watch all of this step by step and understand all of it very well. And in the end, how to build a narrative with these things. And now if they get to order flow, to unite all this and understand how the market from the smaller time frame builds the structures and trends of the larger time frame, and so that you are not on a 1 hour chart waiting for a candle of an hour to close. Let's see if they can take a trade and they have no idea what is happening in a candle. In a 1 hour candle, infinite things happen, including tradable things. So make sure you understand all of this well. From there, you'll move on to order flow. If necessary, repeat these videos. I know these are understood quickly, but if you need to, repeat them. And from there, only then move on to see executions. I don't care if you skip everything and come to executions, just to later go to the market to try to replicate what I show you. I don't want you to copy me, but to understand the price and understand that I take my trades applying all this knowledge. So, if you understand all this, these last videos will make your life very easy. Honestly, this last one is a tremendous gift that shouldn't even be here. Because if you understand all this well, and understand the order flow, that's more than enough to get an idea of how to operate. So, that's it for now, and move on. Theory, 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 theory. This is application, but theory, theory. Now, what is this? Market reviews are me showing you the real market, how everything happens in the market based on the same concepts, and what it means when I explain to you. Everything that happens in the market, with a few simple concepts that give me everything I need to read a market, and that I don't need more. So in these reviews, you will find a lot of valuable information in different contexts. News days, range days, consolidation, holidays, days, I don't know, days that come with small details that I find valuable to share. So I review them, and additionally, I explain everything as always. So these videos are the ones that will best feed your visual memory, and after understanding the playlist, they will connect all the pieces you need from all this theory to understand it in the real market. Obviously, I tried to make the first one simple, but over time I started to go into more detail. Each one has its own particularity. So, if you have already gone through all this, that's what you have to continue with. You are studying this to change your life, to achieve goals. So, if instead of watching this, you prefer to watch a streamer playing a video game, if you prefer to waste time on things that don't add anything to your life, then it means that your priorities are really off, and you're not considering this as important as you should. As you say, consider it then. Watch a little video of this while you have lunch, while you eat, after you've properly studied this, taking the necessary notes, repeating what you need to repeat. And I assure you, I guarantee you that you won't need anything else, nothing else, and it will be free right here. It will always be here, and I will be here to reinforce the same thing over and over again, which I've been doing for months and months and months on my social media. I've been saying the same thing for months, indicating that this system has certain advantages since last year. I have tried to do it. Well, I use my social media in English, but it doesn't matter. And I try to show you that the price always does the same thing, regardless of whether it's a holiday or not. The price always does the same thing. Well, in fact, I forgot to show you in the previous video, as a side note, this entry which was on a holiday day. This was a holiday. I don't remember if it was the 4th of July, Independence Day, or another holiday. And look, it's exactly the same. The opening is now super slow, meaning the price was barely moving ticks. Here's the opening. Slightly more volume, but nothing significant. It's within a 10-point range. The price flips around here. This small movement breaks the level. This bullish move is responsible for breaking it. The price manipulates around here, setting a trap. Responsible voice. I like that wick. It makes me flip. And here, take an entry from this point, assuming the stop loss would be enough up to here, with the 5 points. Why do I take 5 points? Because it's a holiday. And yes, I usually take 10, 15, 20, but on a holiday, the price range and movement are barely moving. And I want to make him give me 20 points down here. When the narrative is around here, is there an origin around here that could give me a reaction? I have to be aware of what day I'm trading, how much the price is moving, the size of my sounds. But look, it's exactly the same. And this is a day that not even a trader would think of trading because there's no volume, because it tells you that you can't trade on holidays, etc., etc. And what did I do with precision? With the same system, I made an entry and I bailed out. Because I'm not going to just stay here watching the market that's moving slowly, but still doing the same thing. Enter that flip, since I didn't manage to get in here, and I already targeted this here. So, it's a system that's heavy, that will work any day, at any time, in any crypto market. This system is beautiful. Crypto moves the same. The problem with crypto, what I never liked, is that suddenly, some who knows who, with a hidden wallet shows up, and everything melts in one candle. So, I like to avoid those markets that can present such strong manipulations out of nowhere. But this applies to everything, so it doesn't limit the trader you want to be. It won't limit the market you have to trade in. It doesn't limit anything at all. It doesn't require you to trade in a single way. It doesn't have a single model. It's a system of understanding price that I provide, ways to enter, and models. And that's fine, but actually, it's because I understand how the price moves. And from there, I discretionarily take certain models for making entries. So in the end, this and the following will be consumed. So you can see how the concepts are applied. So you can see how I mark zones. So you can see how I vary my reading in different scenarios. This will give you an idea to remember later when the market moves in a way similar to one of those reviews. You'll say, okay, Andres had said that this could happen here, because without experience, you won't know how to apply the concepts. So, I'm shortening that experience for you with this playlist too, and from there, it's a journey of your own screen time. I can't help you beyond that. I've already given you all the necessary tools. You have to accept the process. Start applying it. Start facing your thoughts, your emotions in the moment. But you only need this. Okay, now. So just to give you a couple of extras, those who have operated with ICT and those who know about ICT, when the price is moving in one direction and makes a swing and does not leave any fractal, what I usually do is look to see if it leaves an imbalance. So for example, the price is up here. And let's suppose I'm in 1 minute around here, but the price is accumulating. In fact, I did a short around here today. So what conclusion do I draw when I have a very linear movement and the price is accumulating? That I'm leaving an imbalance, that they are closing. The higher time frame candles up there. I'm leaving an imbalance. So I usually use imbalances as magnets. And if I see that it starts to respect the 50% mark and everything, I can also use it as a possible entry point. And the same theory applies. It's going to be a zone where if there's an internal low before reaching it, then I wait for the sweep of said low, the tap of the 50. Everything applies the same. Only when a market is very trending, excessively trending, that it's not returning to the structure swings. This tends to happen a lot. It comes to sweep the load of the candle that's being created, which will be a swing load of a lower time frame to touch the imbalance, and then continue. This happens quite often if you know nothing about ICT. No, just you will see this in my videos well, but don't start getting into imbalances because they require more extra knowledge to know when to apply them and when not to, what a major trend is, in what scenarios it works, what a reversal is, all of that. So all the ways to interact with imbalances if you haven't seen. And if it's better that simply with what I show you on the side of fractal structures, and when the price is in imbalances, that the price goes and reaches a zone, and that's it. For example here, the price starts to accumulate, he wants to break this, but he can't do it. And actually in this accumulation, he's closing an imbalance here. And it's the only imbalance in the time frame. Eyes. It's a different story when there are many imbalances. I start going up the time frame until I find just one. When I find only one, I already consider that this is the only one in this case. And look at how the price, after accumulating here, there's a target, which is this fractal, from which this was generated. So this might be looking to break the price, as this area failed to give me a continuation, and this started taking it away. So this starts to become dangerous. It's when you see that the accumulation is being taken away to come to the responsible one, and you get this reaction here. There would have been a flip in a lower time frame, and there's the pullback, and it goes. So these are the little details that I know they use. And another thing, which is the other thing that I kept from ICT. Back then, I tried to implement everything possible with ICT when I was making my transition from ICT to this, because it's hard to stop believing in ICT. It's not the way the market moves, because when you see everything working, it looks great, and it's hard to move on to something else. But over time, I started shedding a lot of information, and what I still retain up to this moment is the imbalances and the divergence. Watch out though, because I use divergence in a very particular way as well.
Ya les voy a explicar cómo.
I will explain how this also requires extra knowledge. Many details come to mind, especially in scenarios. Very well, it's not something you encounter every day. For example, the concepts I teach here, like the entre and the opening apps, the mine, open. There are many things around that I usually see, like power of 3, and you often see it. But with this system, one manages to explain why those things work in the city, and manages to capture with more precision. In fact, the movements from where that starts to form, yes, it has that. So, that's why I ultimately stayed with this. So, imbalance is there, very superficially, as I just mentioned to you. When there are very strong movements in one direction, and I'm just going to make a pullback, the first thing I look for, if there's nothing in the way, is 50% of that imbalance. See what the price is going to do, and be cautious with the divergence, because let's say I have here the SP100, and now I have the Nasdaq. Generally, the S&P is the more stable one, keeping the structure clean and calm, while the Nasdaq is more aggressive, making and exploiting swings everywhere. It's usually like that. So what generally happens is divergence is used when some liquidity is purged. Let's see the example here. This happens in the SP, while in the Nasdaq, let's say it comes around here, takes this here. So here we have the SMPT, and generally from there we make a decision. But there's something very particular that I started to notice over time. When there's no fundamental, and I'll explain that to you now. Sometimes this happens because the SP had already mitigated an area over here, and there's nothing else for it to look for, while the area in the Nasdaq was over here. So the mitigation of this caused the SP to make this move, and thus the Nasdaq got dragged along, because they're correlated. But there comes a point when the Nasdaq needs to go and seek that liquidity, that volume that it couldn't fill, because it didn't reach here. So that's when the S&P starts to show weakness, but the Nasdaq goes and completes this. In the reviews, I have examples of this, because caution is needed with this, since you have to understand that the Nasdaq is governed by the 100 technology stocks, purely technology stocks, the top ones, while the SP gathers more industrial sectors and everything. So what happens if that's happening? But it's because Envy reported something, and they said they're going to release the chips that will now allow all the robots, I don't know, whatever, so that it's super positive for the tech industry, that the Nasdaq is going to fly much more than the SP or the Dow or the etc, etc, because it has more power to move the sun, Envy to Nasdaq, than to move the 500 of other sectors in the S&P. So now it's time to implement an extra movement, knowledge, and keep in mind context, news texts, and everything. Because otherwise it might be that this isn't holding, because it means that Nasdaq goes and then turns bearish after hitting this. But because there's such a strong fundamental, this ends up going, and the S&P ends up following it a bit too. So that has a lot of variations. So the same, if you already have experience with these things, use the rest. If you're new to this information, don't use the divergences. But I like to see a lot too that the price reaches and starts to reject. For example, here rejects in one. While the Nasdaq, let's say, is holding the origin at 50, while the S&P is rejecting. I also like to see that, for example, here, I was talking about this, weeks ago, because it was an area that, at the time, I was seeing as a possible target to exceed what was hit, which was generated after a month from a site, and she had her tab at 30. And this week, since Tuesday, seeing how Monday closed, I had already mentioned that I had as an idea, once we close the daily imbalances already for Friday, for Thursday, and Friday, I already had that narrative to go there. But what happens? Look, this is a fractal that seems to be in the middle of nowhere, and in the S&P 500, in that same low, we were touching 50 of this entire previous swing zone. Look, it's a nice confluence. The S&P 500 has already reached an area that had been here without mitigating an area of high temporality, while this area is equivalent to this one in Nasdaq. So, through this system, it is also possible to identify great entries with the divergence, but it's not an everyday thing. I repeat, it's something occasional, and if you don't have experience using it, it's better to avoid it, because otherwise it's going to mess up your narrative. And another thing, I think it's already clear that if I'm trading against the trend, purely based on order flow, if the price makes an upward flip, it's generally just going to be a pullback on a higher time frame. Simply a pullback on a higher time frame to come back to either to the origin of that move to return to the higher time frame swing and take this flip again. So, flips against the trend. If I don't take the first up, I don't want to take the second. I want to be cautious. Because in the higher time frame, it probably still follows that bearish order flow. So against the trend, flips are just higher time frame pullbacks in favor of the trend. Flips are continuations. Until when? Until the price tells us otherwise. Until the order flow now shows us bearish failures, and we start to go. Attempts of bearish thrust don't succeed. Another attempt doesn't succeed. So a double bottom formed. Here and then, it starts to go up. And I begin to get the idea that this is now happening. Now, something very important. As acts of art, I don't want you to do backtesting. Just to say today, I'll sell here. Let's see what happens. And that's it. And I start doing it. Oh well. I don't know what happened anyway. I don't want the backtesting that you do to be simply for that. To put trades I want. That if you are doing backtesting, it is to first study what I could do here, get the mental idea of what I would like to do here. Okay, I have this idea, Let's see why maybe an origin arrived here, an order flow area, a validated area, etc., etc. Then, I quickly take a look to see what's going on, how it's developing. Oh, it's rising. And I start asking, what happened? Why it's rising? I start seeing what this was. I start seeing what broke this to the left. I start seeing where I'm coming from. And I start piecing together the whole narrative. I start studying what happened for me to be looking for a short here, and it didn't happen. If you're in a learning process, it's no use backtesting by placing trades, because the trades you're placing now, compared to a month or two later, when you fully understand all the concepts, when you've spent more time in the market, will be very different. So what good is it to have data right now, if you won't even have the slightest idea what your real data will be when you apply the knowledge you've acquired? So, for backtesting, go straight to the reversal points. Go see what happened there. Go see what happened here. Go see what happened here. Go see what happened here. What happened here? What happened here? How it occurred. From which area it occurred. What I can evidence in a higher time frame. That is effective backtesting. That saves you a lot of time, and you gain more visual data with that. You don't have to show anything to anyone. You don't have to show someone, oh, I backtested and 90% win rate. No, nobody cares. Nobody is feeding you here. So value your time.
And go and gain knowledge as quickly as possible.
Well, what else was I going to tell you around here? The issue of risk management. Get rid of the drawdown headache. If you have 2,000 of drawdown, don't look to be risking it. I have 2,000 of drawdown. Don't look to be risking it overall. At once, 200 per trade, 10% of your drawdown, and more if you are in futures, which is trailing drawdown, which means that if you win a trade and then lose 2 in a row, you are already way below the drawdown. Initially, they are at minus 400, and well, the drawdown will keep chasing and chasing them, so they will have that constant pressure. They are not giving the drawdown a break, so you can trade without pressure while you are still in the learning process. Take that burden off your shoulders and do not risk 50 at a time. Because if they risk 200, they only have the possibility of losing 10 trades in a row before burning the account. And it's not the matter of losing 10 trades in a row that's concerning, because in fact, it's hard to lose 10 trades consecutively. The matter is that when they've already lost 3 trades in a row, they are only left with 1,400. And the mind starts to make them believe that they are close to burning the account, when in reality, they still have many chances. But when the mind already starts seeing it that way, that they are in drawdown, that they are close to burning the account, that they have fallen behind, that now they will have to make 600 more to be at break, even again, and all that. When the mind starts processing it that way, they sabotage their own operation. So use a risk that you don't mind at all seeing in red, seeing it lost, and start showing yourselves over the weeks that despite losing 3 times and continuing, and continuing, your equity curve doing this well is never going to be like this. Never. Never. Never again. It will never be like that. I have had brutal winning streaks, and still there always comes a losing trade. So don't let bad decisions or not knowing how to control this part Throw all your progress in the trash. Start by risking a minimal amount. Start by doing an effective price study. Use your time wisely and nothing. I will be attentive to all the doubts that may arise with the whole playlist. But I'm telling you, just by reviewing this well and adding watching market reviews, where I explain, for example, the divergences of some days and the news. There are imbalances somewhere, and by explaining all that, it will resolve a lot of doubts you may have, because doubts arise from a lack of experience, a lack of application, and a lack of seeing it with your own eyes when the content is raw in your brain. First, process it well, and then there. With these reviews, they are going to put all those pieces together. Everything is going to come together. Everything will click, and their operations will evolve in a really very, very positive way. So, well, just a big thank you to everyone who has finished the playlist up to this point, and to those who have dedicated their time. And if you consider, and indeed, your operation changed the way you view the market, the price change, and it starts giving you good results, then just share it with those you know, with traders you know, in communities you know. It's time for the free content, especially in these Spanish-speaking communities, to take the value it deserves. Very few people actually manage to explain the price in such a detailed way, and there are very good channels. Believe me, I have consumed all kinds of channels throughout my process. Spanish-speaking ones, Smart Money, Elliot, Infinite Systems, and none come close to a system that manages to explain each movement the price makes in any time frame with the same concepts. And over here on my Discord, and you can contact me here. I tell you, this is a study space. Most of it is in English. Here is the Spanish channel for you to join and share with the people. And here there's a bit of everything. A bit of psychology, habitat, illusions, external pressures, debts, trust, patience, desperation for results, all the things that are the rules of the Discord. All of this is in English because my community initially was entirely in English, just like my Twitter. But there is also content that can be helpful to you. At first, I started the Discord to answer as many questions as possible from the Edith and FX community. There are many pinned messages that can be helpful, which are answers to people's questions, where I take the time to explain what is happening and why, like how it varies, like how the fact of having the same pattern, but a different narrative of these kind of things, varies. So there are the pinned messages, quite a few useful things that can help you. As it is written, you can translate. If you know English, then you can read it directly. Many things that can be useful, just like the trade opportunities, where I already explained in the execution video. Case studies are scenarios where I noticed at the time that flips were failing, and after repeating something, I was able to identify why they were failing. That's where I provided those reasoning outlooks. I haven't published new outlooks, but here's a very good example of SMPT with the Nasdaq that made this structural change, but the SP 500 hadn't done it yet. It hadn't broken the logo, so what I was talking about earlier about divergence, market reviews, all of these are in English, but the same, more content if you want. If what's on YouTube isn't enough for you and you want more content, here there are more market reviews, here implementing fundamentals, war theme, weekly imbalances, things like that, implementing, well, showing how to mark zones, doing everything the same way. Alright, so if you want more content, you'll have it here. Plenty. Watch everything. I used to take like 6 to 5 hours of my day. I'd get back from training at the gym and spend 5-6 hours doing these reviews. So yeah, all that valuable information. And the people who have taken advantage of it, regardless of it being free, have given me very, very good, enriching testimonials. So I'm very motivated with this Q&A channel. People make trades and don't know why. What happened again. I start explaining to them. Multi-temporality. This is a trend. Greater temporality. I start explaining to them why what happened. And then to give them the answers if they want to study, they can also learn from those answers. If they have a losing trade that they definitely don't understand what happened, and they've already watched the playlist, seen everything, and still don't know, they can post it here. General conversations. This TFX trading channel is solely for charts for questions. And this one can also be a more general conversation. There are also pinned messages where I explain things. This was a backtesting that I had tried some time ago with reactions using only city stuff. Well, this is for the community. These are trade ideas from the community. This is purely my content. Spanish channel here, talking about Profe and current situations with Profe, the discounts that Profe are making here, some memes, and that's it. And there, I leave everything for you. That's all I can contribute. And already in the future, we'll see how this system evolves in the Spanish-speaking community. I hope you liked it. I hope it helps. And you already know, let me know in the comments of this video any general questions you have, and I'll consider the possibility of adding another video with all the answers to those questions that might have arisen throughout the videos, because they are videos that I do not edit. They are videos where I do not set ideal scenarios. They are videos that I record with what I have, with the information that comes to my mind at the moment. Obviously, there is a lot of information that I could have overlooked, so although it is not the idea, and it is not what I would have wanted, I am sure that what I have provided is sufficient, and little by little, I will be adding more details with the doubts you bring up. Anyway, best of luck to everyone. Bye bye.